All right, everyone. Hi, Chris Donati. I'm the editor of Central Current. For those who are new to Central Current, we're an independent, nonprofit newsroom providing critical information for Central New Yorkers. We believe the truth is priceless, so we don't hide it behind a paywall. We are sustained entirely through individual donations, grants, and underwriting support from local businesses. At a time when faith in institutions and news has waned, Central Current was built on a bet that Syracuse and Central New York residents still care deeply about the future of the region. That's why we're here tonight. Just to lay down some ground rules, we want an informative and respectful discussion, so please hold applause, reactions, or comments until the end of the forum. No campaign signage should be displayed during the event. And we wanted to thank the Everson for being a fantastic partner in helping host this event. They've provided a beautiful venue for us now twice this year. We also want to thank the Health Foundation of Western and Central New York for supporting our election coverage. If you'd like to read more of our election coverage, you can read our election guide. It's on the front page of centralcurrent.org. To my left is government and politics reporter Patrick McCarthy, who is co-moderating the forum with me tonight. And to my right is Laura Robertson, our county government reporter, who will be keeping time. So let's get into it. So to start, we're going to take opening statements from each of the candidates, going from right to left. So starting with Tim.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tim Rudd. I'm an independent candidate for mayor, and I pride myself on appreciating math. So I was thinking maybe we could do some stretching to start. So who knows what 1 times 1 is? Just yell it out. 1 times 1. 1. 1 times 100. 1 times 100 million. Okay. What's 0 times 1? 0. What's 0 times 100? What's 0 times 100 million? 0. Okay. So I think there's a variable missing in Syracuse, and I'm going to say it's heart. Okay? And I'm not going to say that the current administration has a 0, but it's definitely not a 1. And I would say it's kind of below half, probably dangerously below where you could start to round to 0. And that explains why you can give all kinds of increases in taxes, federal money, and what do we get for it?
Tom.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alphonso Davis, born and raised here in the city of Syracuse. Central Village, a little place known as Brick City. I love Syracuse. I'm hopelessly in love with this city. I've been involved in the political process for quite some time. I've managed political campaigns. I've worked with a lot of people. I've actually written a couple of pieces of legislation, Citizens Review Board, worked with Clear Man the Box. I'm hopelessly in love with my city, and I'm a firm believer when you lift up the very least of them, then everything else arises. We need a direction that is going to allow people in this city to grow from an economic standpoint and a financial standpoint. Economic, doing things urbanly correct and smart and wise. Financially, developing and creating businesses sustainably so that they can help grow our city. So on October 25th, this coming Saturday, you have a choice to make, and I hope it's me.
Hi. Syracuse will face many challenges in the next 4 years. Some of those challenges will be new, and some of them will be a result of the failure of the previous administration. We have a high rate of crime. We're unable to attract new police officers. Every year, we have a budget crisis, where the budget is blown up and the taxpayers are expected to pick up the difference. We have a housing crisis, where housing has become unaffordable, and we have thousands of vacant properties. We have a problem with wasteful spending. We have projects that we spend millions of dollars on, and we get no results. And we have a serious, serious problem with poverty that's been neglected for generations. If you think that everything is great with the city of Syracuse, then I am probably not your candidate, because I think that we need change, and I think that I'm the person to effectuate that change. I believe, if you believe that we can make Syracuse a better place, then I'll ask for you to vote for me this year, and if I'm given the opportunity, I will do exactly that. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Central Current. Thank you, Everson. Thank you all for coming out and spending your time here to hear from all of us. I'm Sharon Owens. I'm the current Deputy Mayor of the City of Syracuse. For almost 8 years, I've been working tirelessly for the people of this city. My background, for the majority of my life, has been not-for-profit work. So leaning into the needs of people, looking into the eyes of people, understanding the needs of people. And then bringing that to government when government came looking for me because they saw what I was doing. They witnessed my work and they witnessed what I've been able to accomplish. I'm proud of my record. I stand on my good work, I stand on my character and my integrity, and I'm prepared to be your next mayor of Syracuse.
Candidates, for this first section, we're going to ask how you would handle 2 scenarios if you were elected mayor. You will get 1 minute to answer each question. The first question, we're going to begin with Mr. Rudd. You call for the removal of the executive director of Syracuse Housing Authority. However, the commissioners you've appointed choose to keep the executive director in place. What do you do?
I think you have to have relationships from the beginning and appoint people in the beginning who have a shared vision. And right now, I disagree with the vision of the Housing Authority, which is to destroy and rebuild with higher income folks there. I think the problem with the highway coming down is a huge opportunity, and it's a huge opportunity for the Housing Authority footprint right there and the people who live there. And we do have to protect them and keep them safe while it comes down. But it's really a great place for public housing in the long run, especially if we can invest in it, maintain it, and maybe even ways we can empower people to connect people to jobs locally where they can move out of the Housing Authority. I also think there's a big opportunity cost where the Housing Authority would be better served buying Valentine Gardens instead of a speculative New York City developer and filling that in and really investing in social supports to coach people to help them live well, make better decisions, and hopefully transition out of public housing eventually.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, the same question. Do you need me to repeat it, or?
Yes.
Yeah. You call for the removal of the executive director of the Syracuse Housing Authority. However, the commissioners you've appointed choose to keep the executive director in place. What do you do?
I changed my commissioners. Period. That's what Lee Alexander did when he wanted to bring in Fred Murphy and Carol Shepard. He put in a new group of people, and they selected a different person. Definitely, when I become mayor of the city of Syracuse, I will put in the commissioners, and they will do a vote of no confidence of this current administrator to the Syracuse Housing Authority. But I'll tell you this, in 2018, when Ben first won, employees of the Syracuse Housing Authority called me. They didn't call any of their city councilors, they called me. I had meetings with them at my church discussing the current administrator and some of the board members. And they talked about how they felt he was targeting and doing things that was just unbecoming. So if I was mayor, I would just reappoint a different commissioner, and he would have been gone. Because he doesn't work at the auspice of himself. He works at the auspice of the people.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Babilon, the same question.
Thank you. This scenario sounds very familiar. Did Ben Walsh write this question? I've worked with Bill Simmons for many, many years when I was the attorney for neighborhood development. Never had a problem with him. Obviously, the commissioners here did not remove him because they thought he's doing a great job. And I wouldn't even call for his removal. I think that Bill was a scapegoat for a tax credit that was missed by Blueprint 15. And I think that the fault of that missing tax credit lies with who was in control of that tax credit, which would be Blueprint 15, not Bill Simmons. So I certainly would not call for his removal. I think Bill's a great guy. I've closed several projects with him. I don't know how he is as far as running the apartment buildings themselves. As far as closing projects, never missed a deadline, never missed anything. He was in my office, called him up, anything I needed, he was there. So, this is not a situation that I think will happen under my mayoral administration, but I appreciate the question.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. First, setting the facts straight. Blueprint 15 is not the owner of the Syracuse Housing Authority property. The Syracuse Housing Authority is. To the question you asked, there needs to be absolutely change. We have to work within the bylaws established by the authority. And so, working in those bylaws, as commissioners term out, they are replaced. And we've done that a couple times when a couple have resigned or stepped down. I believe that the Housing Authority needs to go in a new direction. We're not looking to destroy the Housing Authority and replace it with rich people. We're looking to create housing that is worthy of the people who live there and who will return there. And so, as mayor, I'll continue on this track. You have to follow the laws, and you have to follow the rules set by the bylaws to make the changes necessary. And that's what I'll do.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. For the second question, we'll go in the opposite order. So we'll begin with you. ICE detains the parents of an SCSD student, leaving the child without any guardians. What do you do?
The first thing we do, it's kind of multifaceted what you need to do. We need to find out actually what happened, what the location, who the person was. We have many, many advocates out in the community now ready to. We learn from ICE activities from you all. They don't notify the city of Syracuse, the mayor's office. They do not notify the police department. So we learn from the good people of Syracuse when something's going on. The next is to make sure we contact and are connected with the school district to make sure that there's a path for that devastated child who doesn't know where their parent is going to be. The next is to work with our legal community, to work with our representatives, to identify, because individuals are being swept off of our streets and end up in an entire state before anybody knows where they are. So we have to work across government lines to ensure we know where they are and to make sure we know where that baby is.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon?
Thank you. First, I don't perceive the mayor getting particularly involved in a situation like this. You know, if a child is left without his parents, then that's something that Child Protective Services normally takes care of. They're the professionals in that, so certainly we would need to call them. And what they would do is they would try and locate any of the relatives of this child or people that can care for the child. I don't know if this has happened before, because I've never seen the mayor get involved in a situation like this. Sounds great, this is what I do if I was mayor, but realistically, the mayor's not gonna get involved in this. And anybody that says otherwise is just lying to you. Because the mayor is not gonna go to their house and find out who their parents are and track them down through ICE. This is something that CPS will do. This is something that our county officials will do. This is something that they deal with anytime that a child is without their parents. They make sure that they get the care that they need, they make sure that relatives are notified, and they make sure that the child's taken care of.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis?
I don't know, a mayor with no heart, but for me, as mayor of this city, and that happens, and the child is left without a parent, I'm finding out about that child. I'm a contact services to say, let's deal with this child, but I'm gonna be involved with that because that is traumatic. For someone to just come in, take the parents and leave this child without parents, without guardians. And I'm supposed to be like, oh, well, I'm not gonna worry about that because it doesn't mean anything. So to say that if a mayor says that, or if a person says that, they're being dishonest, you just don't know me. Because I'm hopelessly in love with my city, and I will fight for the people of my city no matter what. So I will definitely identify the situation, find out where this child is, get the child the necessary service it needs, and then my next step is contacting my senator and my congressperson to ask them, where's that parent, so that we can deal with it from that perspective.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rudd?
I have 5 children. If my family and I went to Brazil illegally and they threw out my wife and I would want my children back as soon as possible. And if that meant turning over the child to ICE, I would do anything I could to reunify the family because I think that takes precedent over everything. And that said, again, the math. We live in a city with 19,000 students in the school district. Half of them live in poverty, right? 20% have basically a disability, a special need. 10% are classified as homeless. Of those 19,000, there are 20 migrants, okay? This is like the type of debate we have. It's sensationalistic, it's emotional, and it prevents us from focusing on the issues that are before us that are within our control. And we really need to look within and how we can fix ourselves. And it's not gonna be the federal money, because 123 million times zero is zero. Okay, we need some people with some heart. We gotta focus on Syracuse, and we gotta cultivate ourselves.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so we're going to transition to a trivia section. We did it last time with whiteboards. This time, candidates, we're just going to have you say your answer, and if you steal an answer, that's on your conscience. So, and you're going to have 15 seconds to think of the answer, but if you guys come up with one before that, you can. Yeah, every time we're going to state the order. The first question, we'll start with you, Mr. Rudd. So, as of October 20th, how much is Part 1 crime, which includes larceny, murder, and other crimes, down versus 2024? We picked the data this morning from the city's CompStat data.
I don't know, I don't care, because too many people have stopped calling. When you call, you don't even get a reliable response. We've been desensitized to it. There's all types of people in this community who don't call when there's something that really, we've normalized totally unacceptable behavior.
You guys, so just a little more trivia. So for the trivia section, just kind of give I know you said you don't care, but if you want to give an answer, you can give one. But no, an answer to the question. And
I went to city school, so the rule thing, it's just like, I'm going.
Yep. How much is Part 1 crime down, which includes larceny, murder, and other major crimes?
How much is crime gone
Down versus 2024, according to city data.
Well, according to city data, it says the crime has gone down. According to city data, it said the crime has not gone down, but if you talk to people in the streets, crime has not.
Mr. Babilon?
So, no, I don't think anybody feels that crime's gone down. It's real easy to pick a statistic from a year ago that none of us had read and ask us what it is, because it's kind of the most ridiculous question we've had tonight. But if you talk to people on the street, like Alphonso says, they don't think crime's down. And the other problem is cops are not responding. They're not reporting crimes. I mean, we have a huge deficiency in our police force right now. 90% of the time, or I don't want to say 90%, but a lot of times the cops don't even come up. They won't even show up for a larceny. You know, I mean, there was an issue just last week. Someone called me up. There was an armed robbery across the street, and it took hours for them to show up. So I mean, I don't really care what the police statistics say, because they're fixed to say whatever the mayor wants them to say.
Deputy Mayor Owens, we're going to give you some time to answer the question, like everyone. So for each of the following questions, we'll give you guys 15 seconds to think through an answer, and then you guys will guess the answer. It's a trivia section, so. No, you're good. It's okay. Everyone got time to speak, so we want to give everyone some time. It's all good. Deputy Mayor Owens.
Chris, it's around 29% down.
It's close.
But if I go home tonight and my Amazon box has been stolen off my porch, it doesn't matter, right? But it is down.
All right, so it's down 26.4% according to city data. So for each of the future questions, I want to make sure I restate myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to state the question, give you guys some time to think about it. It'll be 15 seconds. Laura's going to run the timer, and then you guys can guess the answer. And then we'll go one by one. I'll state the answer to the question.
You're asking us all to yell out the answer?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like first time.
Yeah. So, well, no, it will be one. We'll go in order with your guesses. So the city's total tax levy, which includes the tax levy for the city and the school district, from real estate in the 2025-2026 budget is $127.4 million. By what percent has the tax levy increased since the 2021 budget? So we get 15 seconds to answer. And, I think one thing I want to say, because I know you guys are thinking of answers, is this is less about the right answer, more about how you guys think about this stuff. It's really important to us that these, as mayor, whoever is elected, these are the types of numbers you guys will be looking at every day. First, it'll be Deputy Mayor Owens. At the end of 15 seconds.
Because off the top of my head, I don't know.
Say it again.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Thank you.
I mean, I'm incredibly surprised that the tax levies, oh no, that sounds about right, $127 million. So how much has the tax levy increased?
Yeah, over the last 5 years.
I don't know, $30 million? I have no idea.
Mr. Davis.
I just know 47% of the people. I'm just ready to talk. I know 47% of the people pay 100% of the taxes. That's what I do know, and that is a systemic problem.
I mean, I have this kind of advantage, but so I'll explain it the way I understand it. But each year we have 11 for the school district and we have 11 for the city. They're most of the time, and then the value in the community goes up. So that's gone up 4, 6, 8% annually. And then we haven't traditionally given, well, and I don't say we, I was a part of it. We haven't given the school district really their proportionate share. We've held them constant for the most part, probably 7 of the 8 years, because there's a New York State law that if you ever raise it, you can't lower it. So every time it's gone up, we've kept the rate at least the same or increased it slightly, and that gives the city budget a disproportionate share of the increase. So it has gone up substantially, I think something like 80%. Quite a bit. It goes up quite a bit over that time doing that approach.
So, sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
And
The total tax levy went up 22%, but the total.
The school district.
Chris was critically important, and I'll give my opponents an opportunity too, but what's critically important is that tax base that we're talking about. We have to maintain that tax base. So we're a great eds and meds community that pay no taxes. And so as institutions begin to expand, we have to control that expansion so that they are not acquiring properties and then those properties becoming tax exempt. We cannot afford for our tax base to go lower.
But Sharon, like, you're the one that wants to put tax exempt properties in the shadow of I-81, so how does that even make sense?
Tom, you have never heard me say that.
I've
You have never heard me
I've heard you say multiple times.
You have never heard me say that.
I've heard you say that
You have
multiple
never heard me
I've heard you say that multiple times.
What we are not going to do tonight is say stuff I have not said.
Sharon, is public housing tax exempt? Is public housing tax exempt, Sharon? Is public housing tax exempt, Sharon?
Public housing is going to stay public housing.
And it's tax exempt, and you said you want to put in the shadow of I-81. You said you want to put in the shadow of I-81. You just lied. You just lied, Sharon. You lied.
Public housing. And it is tax exempt.
Stop lying.
It will stay.
Please sit down and stop lying, Sharon.
Okay, so for future responses, if you have a rebuttal, please raise your hand. We didn't have anything in the rules for rebuttals, but we'll allow for them for 30 seconds. So, no, I think everyone, and also for future, everyone stay seated.
Can we all just hug?
I don't think Sharon wants to hug me.
So hold on.
Folks,
Hold on,
please.
folks.
Can I just try one?
1 second. So just please do not chide the candidates on stage. Please do not do that. We do have 2 deputies here. If it does get too rowdy.
Yes.
Understood. All right. For the rest of the trivia, we're gonna give it 15 seconds. You guys will guess the answer. Okay.
Can I just say one thing on the thought? Because
I think we should move on from that question. I understand, but we should move on from that question. Given, I understand. All right. So, according to the city auditor, there were 87 structure fires in Syracuse in 2024. How many of those fires happened in vacant structures? So there will be 15 seconds to think of an answer. We'll start with Mr. Rudd. We'll go to Deputy Mayor Owens, and then I'll say the answer. So you have 15 seconds to think of an answer.
I don't really know. I'm going to guess half because we do have a lot of vacant structures and they do catch on fire because people squat in them. But at the same time, I think a lot of fires happen where people live. So I'm just gonna go with half.
Mr. Davis?
I would say about half based on the structures in the city.
Mr. Babilon?
I believe it's more than half because I see a lot of vacant structures that are on fire. I would say probably like 60%.
Deputy Mayor Owens?
I would say about 40%, Chris.
It's 25 is the straight number. Let's see. So, start with Deputy Mayor Owens at the end of 15 seconds for this one. The city has a backlog of properties ready for foreclosure and transfer to the land bank. How many properties are ready for foreclosure? We reported this number recently. So you have 15 seconds to think of an answer, and at the end of 15 seconds, Deputy Mayor Owens, you can give the first guess.
Approximately 100. Approximately 100.
You say approximately
Approximately 100.
2,000.
2,000. Ready for.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
I'm going to say 2,000.
Thanks, Tom.
I'll give 2,000 for 500.
I think it just highlights that the process is very slow and doesn't work, and we need a different approach because we can't afford to keep them vacant because they do catch on fire a quarter of the time. So we got to turn them over. We need people who should own the homes. We should get people into the land bank homes, and we should use banks to help them fix them up.
Mr. Rudd. All right, thanks.
All right. We're going to transition to more traditional questions, some of which were inspired by our attendees here. We'll read a question, and the candidates will each get 1 minute to answer. We'll start with you, Mr. Rudd. This question was inspired by Kelly W. Other cities have been able to create walkable business districts with quality sidewalks. How would you expand neighborhood centers and improve the city's walkability? You have 1 minute.
I do have a platform on my website, timothymrudd.com, and one of the ideas is I say I would go to council and change the charter to have the Department of Public Works broken up into two departments, the Department of Sanitation and the Department of Mobility, okay? And I would hire an urban planner to oversee the Department of Mobility, and all the road reconstruction, the curb work, the sidewalk work would all go into that. And I really do think we need to make bold investments. On the council, I hated the sidewalks. I went to where I grew up in Eastwood, and I condemned hundreds of sidewalks that I just thought were totally ridiculous to create the pressure to pass a municipal sidewalk program. When I transitioned to budget director, I was one of the people who was really bold in saying the tax cap can't be a barrier for this program, and I helped come up with the solution of phasing in the fee over time so that we can do it. The program is good, you can really see the fruit of that policy. I think that shows kind of the approach I have. I'm willing to break the system that's not working in order to get something new because I foundationally believe government can work.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Definitely hire an urban planner, but the problem is this. For this city, we have never, from my perspective, no administration has looked at the fact that this is an urban city. And in an urban city, you have to have an urban planner who can help you capitalize on the beauty that you have in your city, in your community. Also, at the same time, we have to change the complexity of what our communities look like. And that's by injecting resources in every quadrant of the city. So that means you've got to put resources on the south, north, east, west. Our west side at one time was the poorest in the nation. It has changed a little bit, but the city in itself is still suffering. So having an urban planner, injecting resources in every quadrant of the city, and not just downtown, to change the complexity of what your city looks like, will then beautify and create a more urban, sustainable walkabout community.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon?
So 2 questions here, improving walkability and I guess increasing neighborhood centers or expanding them. As far as walkability, the sidewalk program, I would do a lot of revisions to that. It's been completely mismanaged. I mean, currently right now, we're replacing blocks of sidewalk at a time. Many of the sidewalks are just a few years old. Same thing with the ADA compliant crosswalk part of the sidewalk, which we just have a grant to replace every one of them in 2021. Those are all being ripped up and replace with new sidewalks. We're basically ripping up new sidewalks and replacing them with new sidewalks. I would just replace the sidewalks that need to be replaced. I would save a lot of money and be able to expand the program larger. The other thing is with the snow plowing. It's been horrible. I would break it up to a lot smaller contracts, bid it out to smaller neighborhood contracts instead of the whole thing, because it's just been horribly done. And then as far as improving neighborhood centers, we need to really do a better job of policing and taking care of crime and making people feel safe in those areas.
Thank you, sir. Madam Deputy.
One of the best things implemented has been the sidewalk program to create walkable community. The other best thing about it is that it's not downtown centered, it's actually in neighborhoods. It has to be expanded. Many people ask, we do one side of the sidewalk, one side of the street, and then we don't get to the other. That's because we're trying to get to as many neighborhoods as possible. So it needs to be expanded. It's a great program. And it came to fruition because of a tragedy involving a woman walking along Geddes Street, going to Erie Boulevard. So it's one of the best things we've implemented. We have to double down, triple down on it so that we can expand it and get to more neighborhoods, not downtown. We're in neighborhoods implementing the sidewalk program. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question here. This question was inspired by Edward D. Syracuse is ranked near the bottom as one of the worst places to bike by People for Bikes. Other snowy cities are great to bike in, like Minneapolis and Montreal. What's your plan to get bike infrastructure back in line with the city's Syracuse Bike Plan, which is part of the city's 2040 comprehensive plan? We'll start with you, Deputy Mayor.
I was recently at a neighborhood meeting facilitated by the city auditor to talk about biking and to hear from people who ride bikes every day, particularly motorized bikes. And so our plan started off well. There were some calculations. I don't know if you ever rode a bike through Genesee Street, West Genesee Street off of Geddes. That was a weird intersection with cars. I believe that we need to highlight them more. The white paint that we put down, it's not highlighted enough, and we need to create that. It also needs to be expanded around community centers, places where people gather, where you're going to see more individuals using bikes. And bikes are not a luxury, they are a necessity for many people in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon.
So I ride my bike every single day to work. I've done that since at least 2008. I'm very surprised to find out that Syracuse is not friendly to biking. I thought it's an incredibly friendly city for biking. We've got bike lanes almost everywhere. I've never really had a problem. Some streets I obviously avoid because of the traffic. But some of the things that you see are almost ridiculous. I mean, they've got bike lanes. I don't know why we have DPW this painted in the middle of the street, bike. Like people don't know that they can bike in the street if we don't put a bike painted sign in the middle of the street. It's just a ridiculous waste of money when I see that kind of thing. A lot of times we also have the bike lanes between the bus lane, and this is on West Genesee, and the passenger and the driving lane, which seems incredibly dangerous to me. I'm not sure why they do that. And the other thing, I'm all for bike infrastructure. I'd be happy. I'm not an expert on it by any means, and I'm happy to take any input as possible. The other thing I just wanted to say is that we don't have a sidewalk plan downtown because downtown is a downtown assessment for 30 years, and that has taken care of the downtown sidewalks.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Well, I'm not, I do have a bike, but I paid like $1,000 for it, rode it twice. But I don't have a problem with our bike lanes. When it was created, and they started doing that, I believe, under the Miners Administration, they started creating those lanes for bikers. I think it's efficient. As a person who's not a real biker, I wouldn't say that there's a problem. But if there's a problem that needs to be addressed under my administration, I would see how we can make it better or enhance it. But me personally, from a person who drives the city every day, I don't see that there's a critical issue in terms of changing the infrastructure of what we do in terms of the bike lanes that already currently exist.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd.
I'm a passionate biker. I bike every day. I bike to City Hall the whole time. I went to SU. I bought a used bike for like 90 bucks from this dude who fixes them up on an outer Comstock. I rode it. I got a really dope mountain bike. I can't really do the Univega thing anymore. I'm a little too old. My hips hurt, but I ride the hybrid thing. Bought it for $375. It's a really great bike. Got a good U-lock to protect it. And I ride all the time. I think we're blessed with really core infrastructure that we didn't have. I also grew up here, but I moved to New York City. I lived in New York City for 7 years. I was there from 2007 to 2014, basically. And I witnessed there. I rode my bike there the entire time, too. And I was really there for the Bloomberg build-out of bike lanes in New York City. And I went from the only biker feeling like I might die to being surrounded by hundreds of bikers, right? And we have a core infrastructure of the Creek Walk, the Erie Boulevard path, the state path, and the lake, really. So the east, west, north, south, and we can build off that. But I agree with that the Sharrows are a joke, especially the one on Caleb Ave, and they're not worth the paint. But I would do a lot to do dedicated bike lanes, and they will fill up, and they will fill up with not just white people, black people, brown people, everyone will do it, and e-bikes too.
All right, thank you. Landlords and developers often claim good cause eviction would stifle investment in housing. How would you respond to that concern? We'll start with you, Mr. Rudd.
I am a landlord because I was disgusted by slumlords. So I live in a qualified census tract. That means more than 20% poverty. Most of the city is a qualified census tract. Most of the Walsh administration does not live in a qualified census tract, right? Most people who are professionals do not live. The poverty is in the qualified census tracts. Landlords, oh yeah, I bought houses. I don't like good cause. I think it's bad. It makes it hard to manage the product. And it really, there's this concept called NOAA, naturally occurring affordable housing. That's kind of when regular people like me or you own a house, maybe next door, and you have to find somebody who you like living next to, who pays their rent for the most part, and you have a good relationship with, and you basically don't raise their rent. And that's what a lot of people do. But really, these laws make it so you can't afford to do that because it takes away your ability to like increase the rent when the person leaves, or if they somehow stop paying completely, or if the relationship goes away. So I do think they're bad for Syracuse. And when we lock in rents that don't support the maintenance of the house, we lock in the bad conditions and really the poverty. So we do need the rents. We need our income.
All right, that's time. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
I like a little bit of good cause eviction, but I'm not so keen on it, and that's because for a few reasons. You cannot rent from somebody and don't pay rent for 6 months, and then when they take you to court, you find a loophole to stay in there because of good cause eviction. Meanwhile, that person can't get you out of your place, and you're just constantly living for free. So I have a lot of friends who own property. I own a house. So from that perspective, I agree with the landlords in terms of this good cause eviction. But on the other hand, if you are discriminatory against somebody, if you want to get them out because of their race or their gender, or because all of a sudden you just started not liking them as a tenant, and you just want to evict them, that's different. But from the perspective of living in people's properties for free, which is consistent in the city of Syracuse, yeah, I'm not.
All right, thank you. Mr. Babilon.
So I'm 100% against good cause eviction because I agree with the statement 100%. It's, sometimes you have tenants that are problems, and they're not enough of a problem to try and evict them. And what happens is you wait till the lease is up, and then you say, okay, well, I'm not going to renew your lease because you're a problem tenant, because you're doing drugs, or because you're not taking care of my property, or because you're too loud and you're disturbing my other tenants. Or there's a myriad of reasons, or because you don't take your garbage out. There's a million little minor reasons why a landlord would not want to reduce or renew a lease, and it really takes the power away from the landlord. If we don't have landlords, we don't have apartments. And what good cause eviction will do, it will get rid of all the small landlords. They will not be able to keep up with it. We're going to have more houses that become vacant, or more houses that become sold to larger corporations, and then you're going to deal with larger corporations, and you're taking away these people's equity in their retirements.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor.
I support good cause because it supports keeping people in housing. It does not say that you cannot be evicted. Mr. Davis is right. If you don't pay your rent, there's cause for eviction. The law requires the cause to be good cause for eviction. So if you're not paying the rent, or you are vandalizing somebody's property, I have friends who are landlords as well. It also encourages increases for landlords that just don't spike out of control. I met a man who, a property was being renovated, he was moving in, he had been there 10 years. But when the property transferred ownership, his rent, and I had to calculate it, was increased 150%. All he did wrong was live there.
That's time. Thank you. This question was submitted by Janisha B. What is your plan to combat rising rents? We'll start with Deputy Mayor.
Combating rising rents is, first of all, I want to make the market competitive enough that we can, one, subsidize, which is hard because it takes public money. But we also, a competitive market, rising rents for individuals who are in quality housing in incremental percentages, that's really one of the cruxes of good cause eviction. People wouldn't mind paying rent that they know is going to increase or that it is incremental increases as long as the quality of their housing meets their needs and is worthy of them. What is the mirror that we're looking at is raising rents on slum property. And so it is a tough, because the market is really pushing the rents up in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon.
So there's a few different things we can do to combat rising rents. First thing I'll do is I'll veto good cause eviction because it'll cause a huge rent increase across the city wide almost immediately. The second thing that we can do is, Sharon's right in that it's the market. The market's dictating it. We don't have enough apartments right now. We've got vacant apartment buildings all over the city. A lot of them are burnt out. A lot of them are rehabable though. We need to put those apartments back online, and that will make housing more available, and it'll bring the rents down. The other thing that we need to do is we need to have better housing options. We're very limited in our options here in Syracuse. There are a few places like the Gear Factory that have sort of like shared spaces. I'd like to see more of that. Some micro apartments perhaps like they have in New York City that would be affordable rents for people that are just coming into the community. Tiny homes maybe instead of just for rentals, we have them for actual purchases. We allow first-time purchases of tiny homes so people can build equity and actually own their own home.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis.
Capital investment will help deal with that issue in terms of bringing people in to help develop areas like on James Street, like up off of Carbon, I forgot the name of the place that Tim Green had, putting those Vincent apartments, putting those back on the market so that we have more housing, because housing is a shortage. But the market is going to drive the prices of rent. But at the same time, it goes back to kind of that good cause. When we got landlords, and we have a lot of landlords who own property, who keep rent at a moderate price for a lot of people in our community. But the problem is that when they need to get rid of somebody, and they can't, because they're getting by under these loopholes, and they talk to me every day, that's where we run into the problem. Because if we allow big corporations to come in here to buy these properties, rent is going to be at $1,500, like downtown, $1,500 for an efficiency. That's ridiculous. So capital investment, getting those on the line will help.
Thank you. Mr. Rupp.
Median rents in New York City when I lived there for a one bedroom were $3,000 a month. I think they're now like $5,500 a month. It's real high. Couldn't afford it. I moved home. The rents are always a function of supply and demand. And we have policies, good cause will make it worse, but we have ineffective policies that don't actually improve the quality. They make it hard for landlords to manage the product. And it causes units to come offline. So the Skyline, how many units? Vacant. The Vincent, how many units? Vacant. Maria Regina should have been units? Vacant. Burned. Gone. Right? There's a lot of things that are slow. If you gave me the Skyline for $1, I wouldn't take it. Right? And I don't think I'm the only person. Because we've made it very hard to manage those. So, and that's really I live in a qualified census tract. Everyone can develop and grow, but we also need, like when the neighbor starts to be a real problem, it can't take 6 months for them to go away. It will destroy the community.
Thank you. This question was inspired by multiple attendees. It's no secret that the city has a problem with lead in its pipes. How would you move to replace the pipes, and what timeline do you think is reasonable? We'll start with Mr. Rudd.
I would really make a framework where I take all 55 census tracts and I would use multiple variables like the concentration of lead pipes, poverty, the housing quality, the property values, and I would use that to identify the most need in need neighborhoods. And really, like Sharon and I were working on this together, but I'm the numbers guy, so I really develop and push it. But I think this is a framework that instantly identifies where you can efficiently replace lead pipes. And I think with that type of approach, and coordinated with all the sidewalk work and everything else, I could make it more efficient and get more of it done. I think realistically, I could replace, the city could replace 30% of the necessary lead lines, both sides, in the first 4 years of a new administration, and do another 60%, so 90% replaced in 8 years. And I would do it with a mix of contractors and water employees. I would build up the capacity of the water department to keep the contractors honest so that we don't get gouged.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
I would definitely use the water department, who we underutilize, and they're understaffed. They should be at about 120, they're probably about 67. But mitigating those properties from the house to the street, where the biggest issue occurs, is helping people from in the house, but the city taking care of that piece in terms of mitigating the lead from the street to the house. And I think within the first, 4 years of my administration, we would probably tackle maybe about 60 to 70%, and then in the next 4 years, we would complete the rest. But it would be a daunting process, but it's a process that needs to take place, that we need to do. And I think you can do that if you focus on that. But again, capital investment will allow you to do that, and once you bring in some other resources to financially help you deal with it.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon.
So first we need to identify where all the lead service lines are. I think the city's done a job, at least they've identified, I think, over 10,000. And then how I would prioritize those is first I'd look to see households in lower income neighborhoods, because they're the ones that are more likely to be drinking the water out of the lead pipes. They're the ones that are more likely to have children that are drinking that water. And also prioritize homes with children in them for that same reason. Lead affects children more than anyone, and we want to mitigate those effects. So I think it's really weird to me to go to like Westcott and see them replacing all the lead lines on one street, and then I go to the south side or something and not doing any kind of work at all. I don't really understand where the priorities are there. But certainly, I think the people in Westcott can probably afford water filters. They're probably aware that they have lead in their water and they can afford bottled water. I think we should prioritize it based on income-based.
Thank you, sir.
I would just say with the filters, lead doesn't care how much income you earn. And so if you have a child under 6, that's the litmus and the criteria for ensuring we're getting filters to people. Tim is right. We went to Boston and really took a look across the board at our neighborhoods to really look at how we can impose equity and how we're going to address the different issues. One of the things, and thank you to Tom, we have mapped about 17,000 properties. I still don't believe we have them all, because we've been asking the public to help us identify as well. So there's still some numbers out there that we don't know about. How many? We're doing it now with federal EPA dollars. I hope those federal EPA EPA dollars stop. So I would like to get to half of those done before the end of our administration. I would like to get to half.
Thank you. City administration and the Common Council are behind on the foreclosures of properties that could be held by the Greater Syracuse Land Bank and redeveloped to fight blight. How would you tackle this problem? And we'll start here with Deputy Mayor.
So, working with the council, one thing that they brought up for us is that we go through a series, in the weeds a little bit, where we look at, first of all, big, large properties that are tax delinquent that we need to get out of the hands of who owns it, because they probably don't live in Syracuse or even in this country. And then we get down to the last people we bring through are people who actually still own the home. The council doesn't want us to do that, and I understand that, because it will perpetuate homelessness. One of the issues, the land bank is a good tool, but one of the, and it is, we're able to convey properties that create re-subdivisions, that create more housing. But one of the things that I do agree, and I've heard my opponents talk about this, is that there has to be a different model when it comes to neighborhood-based lots between properties that are owned by homeowners, just a different policy shift for the land bank. But I think the land bank is a tool. It is a leader in New York State, and it is an authority, so it cannot be abolished.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon.
So as far as the backlog of properties, we have to look at why that backlog exists. A few years back, there was a Supreme Court ruling that said basically if you tax foreclosed on someone's home and the worth of the value of the property was more than the tax lien, then you have to pay off the other holders of the property. So we're stuck in a situation now where what the city is doing is they are doing appraisals of the property. And they're making sure that the tax liens are higher than the appraisals, so they don't have to pay anything. Or if they actually do, if they do not come out, there's a difference, then the land bank actually has to agree to pay that difference. So that's kind of holding some of the stuff back. I think we could probably move forward a little faster if we brought back some tax auctions and had the land bank bid on those tax properties, because a lot of them are not going to go at auction, so there really will be no difference. And I think another way is, we can generate some prop revenue for the city that way. And then if properties don't sell, we can just transfer them to the land bank.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
For me, I'm not a huge fan of the land bank. So when I become mayor, I'm going to dissolve the land bank. There are some components in the land bank that do work and you can utilize. But there's a lot of people who are fixed incomes in our community who properties fall up under that process, and so they wind up losing their properties. I'm about keeping people in their homes, one. Secondly, I'm about bringing back the dollar house, which will allow people in our community to develop more homeowners, to get property on the tax roll, so that now we can help generate revenue. Because again, we got 47% of the people in the city of Syracuse paying 100% of the taxes, and we cannot continue to sustain our city like that. So when I dissolve the land bank, when I bring back the dollar house, you can buy a house between $1 and up to $20,000. That gives people in our community an opportunity to purchase homes. And then specifically, we won't allow, under my administration, people outside of Syracuse, in Florida, Pennsylvania, Jersey, to buy properties and become slumlords.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Rudd?
I see two pieces to the problem. One is just the intake of taking the properties, which has had some legal changes, but I do think there's a need to have it be timely and effective, because when houses sit vacant, they become problematic for neighboring houses, and they often burn. From there, this is similar to the earlier question, but I believe there's capacity, there's capabilities within the land bank, but I don't think there's vision. So I live on a street where I think a lot of people thought I was crazy for buying, fixing, and really staying and wanting to be there, but I saw it, and it took me 15 years, but now people come and they say this is lovely, but they thought I was really out of my mind 15 years ago. And I think we need more people with that type of vision, with those properties, because those properties do have value, they're gonna have more value, and I also see people in our community with the capacity to become homeowners who really should be in there. But the land bank needs to be more of a true bank, which they don't have the vision for right now. We need to work with financial partners, and we need to shame the banks who don't lend in our communities.
That's
We need to
time.
figure out ways to get them to lend so that we can have more homeowners.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. All right, we have 2 more questions in this section. Child poverty has long been one of Syracuse's foremost issues to solve. How do you plan to combat child poverty? And we'll start here with the Deputy Mayor.
I've said it before, poverty is a financial situation. It's defined by how much money a household has. There is a threshold set by HUD, and if your household is under that, you are defined as living in poverty. Until we increase the income in households, how do you do that? By job creation. How do we make sure that we have an economy that is creating business that can actually pay living wage jobs so that people can earn income? One of the things I'm the most proud about is the work I've been doing, the work we did to get people on the I-81 project, the work that we're doing to prepare people for Micron. It is incredibly important that we do not make the mistakes we made when all of the factories in our community in the 90s and or 80s and 90s closed and decimated our middle class.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon.
Okay, so, yeah, it's a huge poverty issue in the city. It's been going on for forever. How do we change that? We've got children that are growing up in poverty, whose parents have grown up in poverty, whose parents have grown up in poverty. A lot of kids don't understand how to get out of poverty, and we need to teach them that you can be successful. We need to give them tools to let them know that it doesn't matter where you grew up, you can be successful on your own merits, and you can get out of this neighborhood. A lot of kids feel like they have no choice, like they don't have options to do that. There's a few things, that you could do, and if you do those 3 things, there's like a 97% chance that you will not end up in poverty. That's graduate high school. It's when you graduate high school, go to college or get a job, and don't have children until you're ready to get married. If you do those 3 things, there's like a 97% chance that you will not end up in poverty. We need to explain to children what they need to do to get out of poverty and not continue to be in poverty.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me, folks. Mr. Davis.
Child poverty doesn't exist. Children don't get hit by osmosis. So when people use the term child poverty, the mom or the daddy's in poverty. That puts the child in poverty. So we have to be clear on it when we say that, because I hear it a lot, and I always say, children don't get hit by osmosis. They have parents. So either the mother or the father, they both are in poverty. For me, my plan is to support small businesses systemically, help them grow. Because when you grow small business in your community, in your city, any economist will tell you, small businesses is the engine that drives any city, any metropolitan city in the United States of America. I have a vision to support small businesses systemically from start to success. When Chrysler left, I worked at Chrysler. A lot of these factories left. A lot of people had these good jobs. Those jobs are gone. The 81 project is a $2.5 billion project. The Micron project is a good project. We need to focus on creating opportunities for people in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd.
My in-laws lived with us for much of the last few years, and we lost both of them in the last 2 years. And my father-in-law, he grew up in the Valley, and he joined the Peace Corps, and he worked. He's a good guy. And he worked his whole life in war-torn countries, right? The worst places lacking complete infrastructure, the most impoverished places. And he would come home to Syracuse and say there's poverty, but so many other places have a happiness that's there. And in Syracuse, we have a sadness to our poverty that's so clearly beyond financial. Like, there's a financial element, but we really gotta be clear with ourselves. Like, when kids don't go to school, I don't think it's because of the money. Like, we gotta ask how do we get the kids to school, and we gotta figure out how to get them there. How do we make them wanna go there? How can that be the place where they see hope and prosperity? That's what I saw in school. And I went to school every day, like perfect attendance student. I had many blessings, but I think we need to look for
That's
that
time,
in our
sir.
community.
Thank you. This is the last question of this round. The Syracuse Police Department has been trying to implement a drone as first responder program for nearly a year, but details on the drone policy are still up in the air. Should the DFR program take flight? If so, would you limit the DFR program to high priority calls or allow the department to use its DFR drones as it sees fit? And we'll begin with Mr. Rudd.
I would fully engage with the police in a way that might make them uncomfortable, so I want to understand everything, but I do think we need to invest in technology because in order to minimize the number of officers that we have to have and still create safe environments. So I'm certainly open to using drones to maximize the efficiency of our police force, because one, they have to respond timely, and two, we need to save as many resources to invest in other things that make this a better place to live, so that we can invest in multimodal transit, make it so, because if you can make it so people can like bike, walk, and have reliable transit, then really they can afford to pay more for rent somewhere that's quality, because they don't have to pay the expense of a personal vehicle, right? That's what happens in other cities. We have to really be thoughtful about the allocation of resources, but we do need to make sure we have security. If we don't have security and safety, that's one of the problems in the school. If you don't feel safe in the school, you're not going to want to go to school. That's kind of the obvious answer. Why don't kids go to school? I don't know that they feel safe.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
I don't have a problem with the drone aspect of the Syracuse City Police Department using drones in the city of Syracuse, but I would want to make sure that there was checks and balance on that process and what they do and how they do it and where they disperse it and how they do it, and that it's not indiscriminate. But at the end of the day, we need more police officers. Right now, we have 376. The budget, I was told, I believe that Deputy Mayor said it was like for 420. But we really should be about 520 officers for a city of our size. So the key for me is recruiting young people in the city of Syracuse and our city high schools, to become law enforcement. Because who's better to police your community than those who live here? And I think that we've done a poor job in attracting young people in our community, in our city high schools, to become police officers. So I don't have a problem with the drones, just understanding it from a perspective of controlling how they do it. But we got to recruit more young people to become police officers in our cities.
Thank you, sir.
In our police department.
Mr. Babilon.
So first, I'm all for getting the police on every single tool that they can utilize. I certainly have concerns, privacy concerns regarding drones, as I think anyone would. Anybody that's seen the videos of drones flying over people's pools or looking in people's windows. I think we need to have a clear policy that's published and make sure that it's followed as drafted. As far as a first response or emergency only, I mean, I think if we have a good policy in effect, that it doesn't really matter what kind of call it is. As long as we can ensure that people's privacy is protected, I don't think people would care if it shows up to an active crime scene or something that's much more minor. The thing that I will say is that we need to make sure that these drones are easily identifiable as police drones, because otherwise we're going to get a lot of calls to the police department about drones that are flying around that are police drones. So we need to make sure they're identifiable, we need to have a clear policy, and we need to make sure that the policy is enforceable.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor.
We get calls now for drones. Everybody has a drone flying it somewhere. I'm in favor of this program. It should not be used at the discretion of the department. It should be very targeted. I'll give you a real example. Our ShotSpotter technology. ShotSpotter is activated. Because of the activation, our police department that is depleted goes to the scene. Because we're at the scene, we have to police the scene. Officers are there anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, depending on what they find when they get there. A drone technology program could be the first on the scene to identify whether or not there still is a suspect, whether or not people need to be protected in the immediate area before the car can get there, the drone can get there to do that. It also doesn't keep our police there for 2 or 3 hours when something else needs to be done. when there may not be the remnant of the crime still there.
Thank you all for those thorough answers.
All right, guys, so we're gonna run a lightning round, so, I'm gonna read the. Yeah, so we're gonna go down, I'm gonna ask the question, we'll go down the line, most of them will be yes or no, or a name or something of that sort. So, yeah, I'll begin. So we're gonna start with, Mr. Rudd. If the Common Council votes to approve good cause, will you veto it? Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Babilon?
Yes.
Deputy
No.
Mayor Owens? Okay. If you could appoint anyone, and we'll start with Deputy Mayor Owens. If you could appoint anyone to the Syracuse Housing Authority Board, who would it be? Deputy Mayor Owens.
You want me to name a person?
Name a person.
Ricky Brown.
Mr. Babilon.
Paul Driscoll.
Mr. Davis.
David Rufus.
Mr. Rudd. Okay. Will you continue the municipal sidewalk program? We'll start with Mr. Rudd. Yes or no? 200%. Will you continue the municipal sidewalk program? Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Babilon.
For now, with a lot of revisions.
Deputy Mayor Owens.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Will you continue the city's contract with VIO, the city's e-scooter and e-bike provider? Deputy Mayor Owens.
Yes or no, right?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Babilon.
I have concerns, but yes.
Mr. Davis.
Concerns, but yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Obviously, when it expires, I'm gonna do an RFP, but they could get it.
Will you continue the city's contracts with Genoptic, the city's provider for red light cameras, bus arm cameras, and school speed zone cameras? Mr. Rudd. Yes or no?
Well, they just got the contract, so, yeah, but I would interrogate some of the placement of, one, the urban planner dude, he's gonna oversee the funds to invest in the school zones, and we're gonna prioritize the funding so it's not a money grab.
Excuse me, folks.
Sorry.
Oh, yes or no?
Yes. Yes or yes or no?
Pass.
Mr. Davis.
I could barely hear the question.
Okay. Will you continue the city's contracts with Genoptic, the city's provider for red light cameras, bus arm cameras, and school speed zone cameras?
Yes.
Mr. Babilon.
It's too early to tell, but I don't like the idea that a subcontractor has an interest in fines.
Deputy Mayor Owens.
Yes.
Will you allow biometrics and/or facial recognition technologies to be incorporated into the city's current and future surveillance technologies? Deputy Mayor Owens.
No.
Mr. Babilon.
I'd have to look at the particular instance.
Mr. Davis.
Hell no.
Mr. Rudd.
I don't know.
All right. Flock Safety, the city's provider for license plate readers, is currently facing national scrutiny in a congressional investigation for repeatedly deceiving its customers about the security of their data. Will you continue the city's contract with Flock Safety, Mr. Rudd?
I don't know. I would do an RFP when it's up, but I don't have a problem to fire them.
Mr. Davis.
I'm not sure. I have to read that.
Mr. Babilon.
I would also do an RFP.
Deputy Mayor Owens.
Nobody answered yes or no.
How about you?
I have concerns about it.
The city issued over 60,000 warning tickets to drivers speeding through school zones. Did you receive a warning ticket? Deputy Mayor Owens.
And my husband didn't either.
Mr. Babilon.
I did, but I wasn't driving.
Mr. Davis.
It wasn't me. It was my wife. No, I did get 2.
I did 32 Valley Drive, 4:30-ish.
As mayor, If you had the opportunity to enshrine the legacy of a single Syracusean in a monument or mural, who would you pay homage to, Mr. Rudd? If you need me to,
I would make the eternal flame happen. I think we need a place to really mourn, heal, and collectively gather for victims of gun violence and just violence in general in our community.
Mr. Davis.
There's a lot of people in the city of Syracuse who lost their lives. So yeah, definitely individuals of our community. My mother was murdered, my sister was murdered here in Syracuse. So it hurt me, but at the same time it built me.
Mr. Babilon.
This is not something I can decide up here. I mean, there's literally thousands of candidates, so I can't commit right now.
Deputy Mayor Owens.
If I had to choose one person, and I agree with everybody, there's too many people, the Honorable Bambi Robinson.
Will you use generative AI on city websites and in city communications? Deputy Mayor Owens.
No.
Mr. Babilon.
No.
Mr. Davis.
Nope.
Mr. Rudd.
Yeah.
Apart from the pressing big picture issues facing our city and ones we've discussed here today, what's one overlooked issue that your administration would prioritize? Mr. Rudd.
Apart from the pressing big picture issues facing our city, what's one overlooked issue? I mean, the art, you got me thinking of art. I really think we should take the I-81 materials and do an RFP to have somebody build something amazing, a public sculpture at the corner of Almond and East Genesee Street, which I think should be the new center of our downtown, right? Heal and connect and really have a whole bunch of housing come up around it.
Mr. Davis.
There's quite a few of them, but for me it's creating an opportunity for small business to really function in our city, developing an office that is designed to help small businesses grow systemically from start to success.
Mr. Babilon.
Non-pressing issue, litter. Bring back dunk your junk. Somebody said that to me the other day. That was like the greatest thing I loved as a kid. There's litter everywhere. It's non-pressing, but it's quality of life issues.
Deputy Mayor Owens.
It may not be overlooked, but public art, sound, sight, look, art.
What's one strategy your administration would undertake to increase city revenue? Deputy Mayor Owens.
Smart management and sale of our city assets.
Mr. Babilon.
I would negotiate better agreements with our not-for-profit entities in the city.
Mr. Davis.
I'm gonna stick to the fact that 47% of the people pay 100% of the taxes. We give out too many tax pilots. Syracuse University, Lemoyne College, the hospitals have a lot of property. I will renegotiate those pilots.
Mr. Rudd.
I would do all I can to make sure we're adding 10,000 new residents, 3,000 new housing units, because that's going to drive sales tax. We need growth. Sales tax has been growing really healthily, and that's really the only reason we don't have a current financial problem. So that's the biggest revenue source. I would try to keep it going.
If you had a budget shortfall, what's the first thing you'd cut, Mr. Rudd?
Well, I mean, I could cutely say the deputy mayor, but that's not a. I mean, I do think a lot of the mayoral department I would reorganize and have it much smaller, and I would really have commissioners report directly to me. And I think there's a lot to trim in the non-core. Like, I wouldn't touch police, fire, DPW, water, but I would restructure them to be effective, but I wouldn't need all the support that exists in City Hall.
Mr. Davis.
Restructuring the management from my office on down so that we can kind
Mr.
Monetize.
Babilon. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. My bad.
You know, I'd have to look at different things. I think we spend money. Certainly, we got to keep all our priority stuff. We do crazy things like we run golf courses in our parks, things that not a lot of people access. I would look at the low priority things that don't get used very often and cut those things.
Deputy Mayor Owens.
What I would cut is how we're using energy in our own facilities and maximizing smart energy use.
Would you keep the position of Deputy Mayor in your administration, Deputy Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Babilon?
No, I would not, because it's not in the charter, and it was a position created to give an air of prestige. It does not really exist.
Mr. Davis?
I said no, but I'm not 100% sure.
Mr. Rudd?
I would cut the chief policy officer, the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, and the deputy mayor, and I would have one chief of staff, and that would help me have accountability. And I wouldn't need all that in between. I would directly talk to the commissioners.
All right, so if you were to appoint some sort of the deputy mayor position or an equivalent position, who would you appoint? Mr. Rudd?
Pass.
Mr. Davis?
I'm not telling you.
Mr. Babilon?
I will 100% not have a deputy mayor.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Owens?
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. All right, we'll go with this one. So, what's one conspiracy theory you believe in? Deputy Mayor Owens?
Benatti, this is dangerous, man.
I know.
I don't have time to be spending thinking about conspiracy theories.
Mr. Babilon?
That the city of Syracuse has known that there's lead in the water for decades.
Mr. Davis?
I'm a pass because it might get me in trouble.
I'm gonna go big. I didn't know Building 7 fell for a long time. I don't understand how it fell. I said I didn't know Building 7 fell. I didn't know that 3 buildings in Manhattan fell on 9/11 until 2008 when I was living in New York City. I don't understand how Building 7 fell.
That's why I'm passing.
All right, for the final segment here, we have 2 questions, and you'll each get a minute to respond. We'll begin with Mr. Rudd. Who is the most important person in Syracuse whose work goes under-recognized, and why are their contributions so significant?
I'm going home. My wife is a lovely person, but she's a first responder, and she's like really thoughtful and effective. And I think it's really critical because those are really when we're at our worst, right? When somebody's dying and you have something go bad, and those people have to be the strongest, most compassionate, smartest, most thoughtful people, and they should be able to live well. And so, like, I would say my wife.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
One person. Janice Spates, Charles Anderson, Reverend Briggs, definitely Everson. My wife, thank you. Did I say Charles Anderson?
Yep.
Leon Modestas, Stretch Irons, Reverend Larry Ellis. Man, these are some people who just, it's quite a few.
Why are their contributions so significant?
Those are people who, in my opinion, have shaped my life. 1. 2, they've made a significant impact on the city of Syracuse. They fought tirelessly for the marginalized and disenfranchised people in our community. And they've gone unrecognized in many circles in this city. And so I stand on their shoulders. That's why I'm here today, because of people like that who poured into me, especially Jan Space, who was my godmother, because she introduced me to all those people.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Babilon?
Can they be living or dead?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I will say one of the most influential people in my legal career was Langston McKinney. Incredibly patient judge. I mean, just to sit in his courtroom, unbelievably fair. Ruled right to the law was always ruling correctly, and just such a wonderful man. And I don't think he gets the appreciation that he deserves.
And Sharon, before you go, I gotta add, my mother, who was murdered when I was 15, my sister, who was murdered when I was 21, and Ruby Rufus, and Miss Boatwright. These are people who fought for people in this city. So I gotta add, sorry.
Thank you.
Ditto to everyone that Mr. Davis said. Jan Spates was my first boss. Louis P. Clark, who ran the Human Rights Commission for many years and then run Peace Incorporated, the poverty organization in our community.
Thank you. All right, we're on to our last question, and we'll begin with Deputy Mayor. Should you lose the election, who of your opponents would you like to see as Syracuse's next mayor?
You're not gonna let anybody pass, right?
No passes on this question.
Are you gonna let people pass?
Set the bar.
Are you gonna let people pass?
No passes on this question.
Oh, my. I don't think they should answer that.
Alphonso Davis.
Thank you. Mr. Babilon.
I think Tim is a very honest person. He's very good with numbers.
Yes, he is.
And I think he would, I think honesty is very important in a mayor. Not that Alfonso's dishonest, because I liked Alfonso too. It's a tough choice between the two of these guys, but I would say Tim.
Thank you. Mr. Davis. Folks, please, this is the last question. We're almost there. Mr. Davis.
Sharon Owens.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd.
I can't do it. I did 9/11. I did the Building 7. Come on. It's square.
Come on.
No, I mean, who would I work for? Like, I want to fix the city, right? Like, I would work for Tom, and I would work for Alfonso. I would apply to both of them if they want.
All right, thank you.
So, all right, so as we wrap up here, I just want to thank the Everson for being gracious hosts, the candidates for all coming out, and all of you for your interest in the mayoral race in Central Current. It means a lot. Hold on, it's like, it means a lot that you take your time to come out to an event like this. At its best, the newsroom doesn't just spit facts to an audience. It involves them in the process of finding information and brings people together. So have a safe trip home.
Thank you.